All right. Hey, I think it's Saeed. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Yeah, I'm finally getting around to going over this drawing that you had tagged me in. Um, yeah, so I just kind of wanted to say, a quick thing. Just I'm not going to try to like do a perfect cleaned up drawing or anything like that on top of yours, but I wanted to say, just kind of let you know what I was noticing in some of this, and hopefully it's beneficial to you. Um, I always tend to kind of preface with, I'm not a master or anything by any stretch of the means. I'm still learning, but I am a big proponent of getting someone else's eyes on a thing, you know. So that's kind of my little preamble, and yeah, start going over this drawing. So one thing that I notice, like hopefully, yeah, okay, there it um, is this overall shape. Um, and that you got going on here, like whenever you kind of bust it up here and here, like uh, it is getting pretty even. I think maybe I could even like try to draw a line from the back of the neck, because really whenever you kind of fit that overall head shape like this area, sorry, um, I think that's going to be kind of even um, with that. Like those are going to be about the same size. So I think you could maybe push that. I think you were going for this guy having like a really big head, and yeah, I think you might be able to push that a little bit more. I'm gonna move that out of the way. Um, so one of the things that I see is just your overall kind of construction. Things are starting to get maybe a little flat. Like, so I think you really wanted to think about, like, okay, underneath here, like his body shape, even, what is that? And then not only just like what shape is it, but like what is that form? I think a lot of people um, tend to forget that we're really trying to make something appear kind of volumetric or three dimensional. So, where's that center line? Sometimes I like to even come in and, you've got the placement good, but just try to figure out, like, okay, what's that side plane of, of that overall form? Um, the the other thing is like the line of action on this guy. Like, uh, he's kind of pretty, just pretty vertical, and I think that you could argue that maybe it's slightly curved like that, but if you take like just that body, I mean, it's pretty straight up and down, right? And I don't know if this is an invented character. I think I had seen somewhere where it was kind of a take on the Crudes or something like that. But he's got this little ear horn right here, so that indicates that you could really that he's old. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. He's an old man, hard of hearing. So if you really push that line of action and like think about like old people and how they tend to sit, I think you could really hunch him over and push him over. Like, I'm not saying like to get him off balance or anything like that, but if you were to, take take that head, whatever form that's going to end up taking, and you like take his body, and you kind of push that a little bit, and then he's got those legs, maybe not. um, and he's starting to kind of like really get an arch pushing him that way. I think that would really help kind of sell your character that you got going on here. Um, Another thing that kind of jumps out at me is, just putting like that thumb, or however that's going to connect, like, but just really having that on there, um, to make it look like he's actually holding that thing. Reference your own hand. But yeah, and man, everything's starting to get like real flat. So I think that comes from just an understanding of overlapping, and like where that comes from. And I think a lot of times that comes with line weight too. Like the line weight on this bugle or ear horn, um, it's pretty even all the way through. One thing that you can do is you can have a thicker outline on the actual, like, around the thing, and then a single line weight inside. That helps make it read like um, like like there's something that's actually going on in there, and there is a little bit of a, I think, hierarchy to what elements would get that outline, right? Like, I think the hand, because it's part of the character, and this is really where the overlapping kind of comes in. Like, if you do kind of thicken up the outline on that ear horn, then you'll want to thicken up that outline on his hand too, right? But in the order of things, I would say that the hand is more important than the horn, and the overlapping of things is that since this hand is overlapping the horn, um, the the fingers are actually closer to you in respect, like to the viewer, in respect to the horn, right? So if you have be, because things are closer to you in perspective, those things tend to get a thicker outline as well. And while we're talking about perspective, just I would say that this leg right here would probably come more towards, like it would be closer to, so it would drop down a little bit. Like, if this is the far leg, and whatever your connection point is, and then kind of finding, like, okay, where's that angle, and then pulling that leg out. So you kind of want to maintain your volumes, but this leg is going to be closer to the viewer. So whenever you start, even you kind of follow that same angle. Like, you can go knee to knee, and then ankle to ankle. So it's kind of, if things are receding back into some point on the distance, or in the distance back here, like, say everything's kind of going to that point, where is, um, where's that ankle going, right? Like, so you got your vanishing point, and up here is your knee. So then if you follow that vanishing point out and you're saying, like, okay, there's your ankle right there, then on this leg, the ankle would be right here. So you see how much further down that leg has to drop, and how much, bigger it starts to get. And then, you come in and, like, put in, your foot and all of that. The same sort of thing can apply here. I know you're kind of like twisting his leg in like that, or his foot, I'm sorry. Like, both of them are kind of turned in, but that same principle of, here's the vanishing point. So if I start drawing through, you know, like, where does that foot kind of land? So, it cuts off right here. And then you go in and you can put in your anatomy and everything like that. But really kind of having it come forward and more at that angle, I think, is really going to help you. Again, the overlapping of things, like, I think if you've got that body underneath there, like that, what are the connection points? Maybe it's up a little bit more, and that's okay. But if it's up like that, then where's the connection for that head, right? It's going to be somewhere over there. And like, you might not see the connection for this arm right here, but if you draw through, you can kind of start to find where that is. And even the shoulders are going to maintain the same sort of thing. Like, you can still draw towards that vanishing point, and look, that shoulder, and it could just be like the way that it's over, like, or that it's not really using the overlapping here, but I think you would actually see that shoulder kind of in comparison to this one. And whenever you start thinking about it, like, in terms of form, this the loincloth thing is part, I think, of what is causing that flattening. So if you actually wrap that loincloth, like, you have maybe that shoulder sticking up a little bit, and then you wrap that loincloth around that way, and then you can come in and cut out all your, like, jaggies or whatever. But how is that, like, and this is why it's so important to understand what the form is going on underneath it. But if you have that understanding of the form underneath it, and you start to draw your loincloth in kind of adherence to that, let's see if you can, maybe I'll go over it with a little bit of black. So everything kind of starts wrapping around like that. You got his belly down, switch back to red, down here, and then, maybe you see a little bit of the back of that loincloth, and it's going to drape down. And however, the design is going to fit around him. Like I said, draw these lines first, and then cut out around that. Maybe it hangs down a little bit, and you can see a little bit of the back there. And so once you get all that construction in, like, that's really where I think the thinking of it all happens. And then you can come back in and again with the black and kind of cut that out. This is just real scribbly, so sorry about that. But and however that connects and wraps around down there. But the key is really going to be like, okay, well now what are these connections? Um, and this might not be 100% accurate on where that neck is. So that might come down just to allow a little bit of that neck to stick out. Um, but yeah, I think there's not a lot of space here between this head and the shoulder. Uh, so that's kind of what you're playing against. But if you get it in there like that, even this little space right there is going to help make it feel that much more solid. And then yeah, you can come in and cut out whatever you need to there. But then back to the point of overlapping the thing, if you pull that um, that shoulder out, right, then the shoulder is definitely in front of the loincloth, which is going to be you know just barely, but still in front of that neck down there. And yeah, so like as a general rule, and you may kind of have this in here. I just wanted to point it out. Yeah, I think you've got it, so that's good. But yeah, that elbow is going to fall at about the rib cage, right where that would be, and you're not necessarily always going to draw your guy with the rib cage, but knowing kind of where that is underneath here, um, it just helps give you that point of reference to where these other things are. Um, yeah, still looking pretty flat with the arm. Um, I think you can kind of just pull out whatever that shape is. Um, and yeah, just like what direction is the arm kind of coming out? Is it going? I don't know. You can kind of think. I tend to think of like arrows like this, like volumetric arrows. Like so, if you kind of cut that out, is it kind of pointing out that way? Um, and then draw in your kind of connection point. A lot of because these are just really tube shapes, um, and you can bend them and try to like put in whatever anatomy. It looks like you're kind of putting in the flatness of the arm here, but instead of just like, and I don't know that this is the way that you were doing it, but it looks to me like you were just kind of sketching out that line, and then coming back over that and just trying to hit it like that. But one of the things that I'm going to harp on is just building up with your construction, because it just makes drawing that much easier. You kind of know that, like, okay, I'm looking down, and so things are wrapping all around that tube shape. And these are all kind of just invisible cross contour lines for you, but like where is that connection point? And then once that's figured out, then you come back and you kind of clean it up. Uh, you, here, let me move this real quick. But yeah, I would. One of the things I would say is kind of like maintain your volumes. Get back to that in a second. Um, like if you look here, here to here versus like where exactly is the bend in that arm. If I kind of draw it here to here, um, this starts looking a lot longer. Uh, right there starts looking a lot longer to me than this, which again starts kind of breaking the perspective rule, right? So perspective tells us that this would actually, be maybe somewhere down here, maybe not that, um, to match that, or this would get shorter. Um, so if I put this back over here, so if we kind of take that as our baseline, maybe down somewhere like that. And I mean, you can cheat it like that. That's okay. But one of the things that I would really encourage you to do is be pushing that pose. Like this is what I'm talking about right now here with this guy is just that basic sort of construction. But like maybe even think about if you if you think about how like an old man would kind of just cup his ear, right? And he's kind of hard of hearing and he's leaning forward and he's cupping his ear. I feel like this would get pulled way far away from his body and kind of move that in conjunction with that lean of if he's leaned over and he's kind of got that hand, he's got that horn that's kind of going to his ear, wherever that is, but then like think about like, okay, would it be just kind of straight up like that, or whenever I think of an old man who's kind of real hard of hearing, that arm is kind of pulled out and it's really pushed, and he's leaning in to here. You might even balance it out by pulling that out away from the body. That way it just doesn't look like he's about to tip over. And then since that pose is being pushed so far forward, that way his weight is going to be pushed down, and so you get those tube shapes going on here. He got his feet. Sorry, coming in or whatever. Like where's that weight at? Like you can have the leg kind of coming down here, or if you wanted to kind of keep it more in line with that pushed like kind of, what am I trying to say, that forward facing leg, then still maintain your perspective, but just really push that forward. And that kind of starts to look a little off balance to me, or like, so maybe even something like that. But you've got him, and maybe that head comes down a little bit more. Hey, Sonny, what you say? That kind of guy. Um, you can just kind of loosely indicate um, those hands where that goes. But yeah, then it's building up, and I think it's okay to get real scribbly like this whenever you're just starting to figure out the pose and what it is. And I mean, look, now you've got like a bunch of negative space here and here. Like the the this bone isn't coming so much into the body. Maybe this even goes higher up because of reasons. um, because he's really, like, I think he's a shorter guy, and he's, just really trying to get up there, get to that air of, whatever someone's talking about. And then that starts to come in and play a part on, like, okay, well, what's this guy's facial expression, you know, going to be? Because he just seems kind of angry, um, like it's blank almost, but it's like this blank kind of angry face. When I think you could really push that, like, is he really trying to hear? And that's kind of the story that I'm thinking about a little bit here. Like, okay, he's got, I'm gonna put that here, so, but he's got his ear over here, and however you want to do your design or whatever, and this one's over here. But what if you tilted that head just like that, and he's got his eyes and he's like looking over here, and whatever that nose is doing, you'll probably see maybe a little bit if his head's upturned like this. This is why I like to do the arrows like that, because you can see, like, okay, well, I would probably see a little bit of that nose. And what's his facial expression? If he's really kind of hard of hearing, what's that mouth doing? Like, huh? What you saying, Sonny? You got that going on. And if maybe he's a little confused, he's got, like, and this is real generic as far as the expression is concerned. So I would definitely encourage you to do more specific. I like those big ears that you got going on in there. But yeah, you do like a more kind of specific expression, and yeah, then you got all his, like, cheek is kind of that's maybe coming around down there, like, where, even if you're not going to draw that chin, maybe find it so you have a place for some of these muscles to go around to. And I know this is getting real sloppy, so I apologize for that, but I'll clean it up here a little bit in a second And so, he's got, do you need like this bone here? Is that telling part of your story? Like, if he's a caveman, get his little hair going on over there, and you start kind of adding in, like, okay, well, there's his loincloth is gonna come around on that side, and droop down. you know I'll switch back to the black. um yeah, and so what's the shape, of that ear? And uh is that's connecting over there? That's kind of, I like the push out, the real fleshy sort of thing. And he's got that real kind of lumpy dome, which is really funny. um but yeah, and then, like, this is kind of built into that same shape, so that's fine. um might even be able to put a few wrinkles underneath, um neath there, kind of indicate. Let's see, actually, here's that chin, so that wrinkles over there. And then you can start maybe putting in that brow, like however thick it is, and whatever shape your design is that you want for him to have. But you get that eye over there, really striving, really trying to hear whatever his nose looks like. And like, I'm sorry, that noise has got to be the worst. um, but yeah, and so you start, whatever his hair is kind of doing over there. And might see a little bit of like shoulder overlapping. I'm like, again, it's going to depend on your design, um, exactly what this guy is going to look like. And then you have all that's cut out around there. You've got the fur sort of thing going on. And then, yeah, like this is cut out however it needs to. But, look how much this is wrapping just around everything. It's all kind of dependent on these overlaps. You may even see a little bit of that muscle in there. And yeah, so that hand's gonna come out and do whatever it is. Like, maybe it's kind of kicked back that way a little bit. Yeah, he's, really leaning into it. You get your toes and all of that. Remember, I would say, big thing is you're just always trying to describe, the form, that's going on underneath it all. You can, like I said, have it kind of turned in. And then, yeah, get his toes on there. yeah, and then keep playing with that idea of like pushing it and pulling it out, and um, you've got all this negative space down here, like just around, like all this breathing room that's kind of around this guy now, and he's starting to starting to tell that story a little bit more of, maybe he's got his pinky kicked up. And then, yeah, so he's got that horn going on here. You can just draw through. I mean, you can clean all this stuff up later. But if you kind of, like, I'll turn the opacity up. You're kind of starting to tell a little bit more of a story with this guy, as opposed to this. And look, this stuff is fine, like the straight up and down, for whenever you're just kind of figuring out the character model and stuff like that. This is more of a, like, I think, production level, like, oh, okay, I'm really just trying to figure this guy out. What's he doing? What's he gonna look like? But once you get this, then I think the goal is to start being like, okay, what am I trying? What's this guy? What's he gonna say? How's he gonna act? Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think I have too much more to comment on this guy. It might be funny. I don't know if it's in here. Throw a little bit of that man boob on him. Does he have a hairy chest? He is kind of caveman like. So hair's coming off the shoulders or whatever. Might be funny if he's got like really bad pits and kind of mirrors that hair up there. Does he have really hairy legs? Arms, like the really hairy forearms. Yeah, and if he's getting jowl, like a lot of that jowl action, you can get all that in, but that, I think, all comes after after figuring out some of this other stuff. So, all right, I'll throw that up so you can see what I'm talking about there. A little clearer on the construction with that particular drawing. But I think something like this is going to have that feeling, and then you want to move past that stage, right? You want to take it from, like, okay, here it feels a little more alive, and then start like really considering your construction. But the construction's gonna kind of tone everything down. Like, it's gonna make things get real stiff. So that's why it's so important to come in and try to figure it out where there is a lot of life in it. Maybe even his guts kind of coming out from. Sorry, I'll play with this forever. But yeah, if he's like bent over like that, then his gut's probably gonna stick out just a little bit. You can even maybe mirror that with the, or like whatever the underlying thing is happening under here, that's what you want to keep in mind, because that's what the things are going to wrap around. But like I said, I think you've got a really interesting. Well, I might not have said this, but you do have a really interesting sort of character that you got going on here. I think now it's just like, okay, how do I take that to the next stage, like the next step? What what's going to make it pop that much more? And then there's the few sort of drawing principles that that's just going to come with time and practice and really thinking about things volumetrically. But yeah, I think I've rambled long enough. So good job, and I hope this helps. All right. Thanks for following along. Thanks for watching and all of that stuff. Have a good day.